Errol Spence Jr. had an eye surgery on Wednesday to remove a cataract that limited his vision in his fight against Terence Crawford last July. The surgery for Errol Spence Jr., former world champion, was reportedly a success, and he's ready to face Terence Crawford in a rematch to avenge his 9th round knockout loss from last summer. I want to give my thoughts on this whole situation. I want to get into it, and let's talk about pretty much everything surrounding it. As much as we know at this point, let's talk about it on Original Gym Boxing, y'all.
It just started pouring out of nowhere. Is that him?
Yeah.
Okay. And when he dropped me off the wrong person.
Yeah, we're done to the flow, man.
So Errol Spence Jr. looks like he had surgery on his eye, and I believe he goes into the fact that he was not able to basically see some of the jabs that Terence Crawford was throwing his way. And he basically says that he's had an eye surgery, and that was, basically the reason why, or part of the reason why. And I know a lot of fans, a lot of Terence Crawford fans, or casual fans, or just everybody in general, is going to come out and they're going to get in the comment section, and they're going to go crazy, and they're going to basically say, oh, it's an excuse. Everybody going to throw that around, that he's basically making excuses. But the man is getting wheeled out of the hospital with another patch over his eye. And I want to give my thoughts on it, man. We all seen Errol Spence get whooped by Terence Crawford in the fight, where we all know that he didn't look like himself in that fight. Something was wrong. He looked sick. He looked like he didn't have his legs under him. And now we're seeing that he has more eye issues, okay? Now, we know Errol Spence Jr. has basically had a lot of different issues in the past few years surrounding the sport of boxing and also out of the ring. Okay, he's had a vicious car accident in which he almost lost his life. He's had previous eye surgeries that he had to come back from. And, there's a lot of people that's going to say he's making excuses, man. But we know Errol Spence Jr. has had a lot of adversity throughout his career, especially recently, with just a whole bunch of things happening to him, man, that's, making things tougher for him in the ring. So I think this is something that a lot of people, possibly could have saw coming when he lost to Terence Crawford. A lot of people, even before the fight, was saying that maybe Errol Spence Jr. may not be ready to fight. Maybe Errol Spence Jr. should retire and all of these things. But he was still able to come back from a previous retina eye injury and basically get in there. And he got in there with Yordenis Ugas and came back and won that fight after his previous eye surgery. So I understand a lot of people is going to say he probably should retire. I've been seeing this in a lot of comment sections, and basically saying that Errol Spence Jr. has done enough for the sport. He's accomplished a lot. He's been world champion, unified at 147 pounds. He's beaten a lot of names that we know at this point now. So he's done a lot, man. A lot of people saying he's going into the Hall of Fame. No need to actually continue on. It's not worth it. It's not worth losing your eyesight over. And, I just personally, in my personal opinion, I don't think Errol Spence Jr. is going to retire at this point. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to get back in the gym. He's going to get back in shape. I mean, if this is the Errol Spence that we know him to be, if he's still the same guy, he's most likely going to get back in there, man. He want to get back on Terence Crawford. And I'm pretty sure that's the direction he's going in at this point. He showed everybody he got the eye surgery done again. And I'm pretty sure the retina surgery that he had before is kind of, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know for sure. But from what I can take away from it, it's a different part of the eye. Okay, cataract surgery is going to be something a little bit different, if not vastly different, from a retina eye surgery. So, but the news is that the surgery was a success, which means now he should be able to see better than he did before he went in surgery. And I guess he's basically showing everybody that, hey, man, I'm out here getting the surgeries taken care of to make sure that I'm in tip-top shape to be able to go in this rematch. And that's basically what I'm seeing. You know, I'm basically seeing that that he's gonna be able to, you know, get back in there, you know. And I know it was painful. You know, not only was the loss, you know, for Errol fans painful, but also seeing him, you know, have to keep going through these eye surgeries, man. I know that's painful as well, you know, to see your favorite fighter have to go through those types of pains. And, you know, just boxing fans in general, even if you're not a big Errol Spence fan, you just a fan of the sport of boxing, I'm pretty sure that can be, you know, something that you don't want to see fighters have to go through, man, where they got to get something done to their eye. I mean, you know, if you tear a rotator cuff or you tear ACL or you know, pop an Achilles or, you know what I'm saying, any of these types of injuries, man, where you got to get your ribs, you know, surgery on your ribs or, you know, different types of stuff like that, I think is, you know, people are used to seeing those type of injuries. And it's something that it's not going to affect something as serious as your eyes, you know. Going blind is something that I don't think nobody want to ever have to go through. You know, the ability to see is a blessing from God, that we can actually see things. It's one of the most underrated blessings that we actually get, is to actually see. You know what I mean? So I think that's a thing that I think a lot of people take serious, man, is that when you start messing with your eyes, you know, that's a different ball game. Okay, you can get a lot of surgeries, you can get muscles repaired, tendons repaired, bones repaired, but when you start messing with that eye, at this point in time, there's no medical practice, there's no science that we know of that can bring your eyesight back. We know there's LASIK eye surgery and different things of that, you know, nature, where you get the, you know, you're gonna get your eye, you know, laser, you know, surgically repaired. But there's no way to get it back at this point if you lose it completely. So that's something very, very serious, man. So I can understand how fans would want to say that, you know, it's probably better that he just retires so he can enjoy the rest of his life. I totally get that. You know, we definitely don't want to see brother Errol, you know, hurt, you know. So now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe, you know, an injury of such magnitude to the eye is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same reason that boxing legend Sugar Ray Leonard ended up retiring from, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he ended up retiring with an eye injury as well. I think I remember that whole situation, as far as when a lot of people were talking about it. I'm pretty sure he talked about it, but yeah, that's a very serious injury. We've seen other professional boxers, you know, suffer similar injuries that got them out of there. I think even recently, Abner Mares, I think he retired off of an eye injury, something similar. I think it was a retina eye surgery that he had as well, if I can remember correctly. So that's nothing to play with, man. That's something extremely serious, and I'm pretty sure, you know, they would like to take that serious, man. But with his situation, we know Errol Spence Jr. is a dog. We know he's tough. He's built out of steel. He got carbon fiber in his bones, and I think he's looking to get back in there. I think he want to whoop Terence Crawford, man. I don't think he liked the humiliation that came behind that butt whooping that he took. I think he want to get back in there, and I think, and I like I said in previous videos, you know, I believe Errol Spence Jr., when he gets back in there with Terence Crawford, he's gonna be a lot different. I think he's gonna look a lot different. I think he's gonna be a lot sharper. I don't see him getting knocked out in this fight. I think even if he loses, it's going to go the distance. But I think Errol Spence Jr. does have what it takes to beat Terence Crawford. I know a lot of people, you know, they're going to say Terence Crawford is levels above. His skill set is vastly above Errol and stuff like that. And I understand it. You know, I get it. I understand Terence Crawford is a talented fighter. But when you really, really look at it, no fight that we've ever seen Terence Crawford in, he dominated this bad. And you know what I mean? And I understand that a lot of other fighters have different skill sets. I know a lot of people are going to say Errol Spence Jr. is one-dimensional and he doesn't move his head and he's only has the one with the two with the follow-up with the left hook to the body, or, you know, different things of that nature a lot of people say. But I've watched Errol Spence Jr. fight a long time coming up when he was even, you know, younger in his career. And I've seen him look extremely, extremely sharp. I've seen him show boxing ability. I've seen Errol Spence be a lot more vicious when it comes down to his body work, fighting in a phone booth. We've seen him outbox guys before in the past. We've seen him just be able to dig in his bag and get a lot of different tricks out of it. And I know a lot of people are going to say he has slow feet and stuff like that. I get that. But, we've seen Errol Spence move forward. We've seen Errol Spence, move around the ring if he have to. Even when he fought Mikey Garcia, he was able to move around the ring. We've seen him get out of the way of punches. We've seen him much quicker and faster than his opponents. And I understand Terence Crawford is levels above a lot of the guys that he fought early on in his career. I give Terence Crawford that. He's a world-class talent. He's absolutely pound for pound. But the point that I'm making is that both of these guys are at the top. Both of these guys have shown that they have, a different set of boxing skills, and they set themselves apart. So there's nothing to take away from Terence Crawford here. I understand that he got in there, he did his thing. But the point that most boxing fans are making is that we believe that Errol Spence Jr. lost this fight more so than it just being Terence Crawford winning the fight. And I think that's pretty much what's going on. But let me get back into this article. It says here that Errol Spence Jr. says the reason he was hit with so many jabs and hooks from Crawford is because he didn't see properly, which explains why he was getting nailed cleanly. Pause. He was getting nailed cleanly throughout his contest with shots that he normally would have blocked or gotten out of the way of. And I think that's, I think that shows a lot because we've seen it in the past. If anybody's watched a lot of Errol Spence fights, we've seen him be a lot quicker than what we've seen in this fight with Terence Crawford. Okay, he did look like himself to a certain extent, where this shows the relentlessness of how he didn't want to give up. He wanted to keep pressing forward. No matter if he was getting hit, he kept pushing forward. So he did show certain things that was normal that we see. But then again, a lot of it didn't look right. His legs didn't look right. And this is even before he even got hit. Really. Before Errol Spence even really got hit, he was in there looking kind of tired, and he was looking like he just couldn't get out of the way of some of those shots. And it just wasn't looking good for him, man. So, a lot of people going to scream excuse, which is cool. But, we understand that when those types of situations happen, when these types of things happen where, a fighter loses and then there's a lot of things that can come from the loss or reasons why they lost to the way they did. For us boxing fans, that just ensures that that's going to promote the rematch. We know they're going to get back in there and give us another good, excellent night of boxing. And the fact that there's things like, the high elevation running that Errol Spence was doing the week of the fight. Things, he might have not been feeling good. He might have not, had his stamina right based on the high altitude. And also the fact that Errol Spence Jr. just got out of eye surgery again. And he, attributed that to the fact that he wasn't able to see properly in the fight. So all of those types of things like that, if you look at it from a positive direction, from a positive standpoint, it's going to promote the rematch. And we all pretty much want to see the rematch. I want to see the rematch. I want to see these boys get back in there, mix it up, and get a second fight and maybe even a third fight. I don't mind seeing these boys mix it up in there, man. Make a lot of money in the process, and give us a good show. Make this thing legendary. I believe Errol Spence is going to put up a much better fight than he did in the first one. I think he understands that he got to do things a lot differently. He has to prepare a lot differently. He can't come in a week of the fight jogging like crazy. He can't come in there, you just got to come in there much more prepared for a guy like Terence Crawford, who is a hell of a fighter. I like Terence Crawford. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a stand-up guy, respectful. If he whoop Errol Spence Jr. again, we just gonna give him the credit that he deserved, just like we did the first time. But we just want to talk about what we see from Errol Spence Jr. and how we see, that whole situation playing out. We know Terence Crawford is a good fighter. We understand Terence Crawford is a good fighter. We just also want to analyze what we see from Errol Spence Jr. as well. Crawford, it goes on to say Crawford had never looked that good before, even against weak opposition like Sean Porter, David Vegian, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, I never could, and Jeff Horn. I don't really think Sean Porter was a weak opponent. I just think Sean Porter just came in there to lay down. I think Sean Porter was looking better than Crawford early on in the fight, and I think Sean Porter was looking for a payday, and he went in there and laid down for that payday. That's my opinion. I've seen Sean Porter fight in much better fights, and you could just tell he was pretty much done. He retired right after that. So I mean, I don't think it was a weak opposition. I just think Sean was on his way out in that fight. But it goes on to say Terence Crawford has always been a simple counterpuncher, switch hitter, and not someone who overpowered his opponents. He's usually patient. He takes his time, and this is my opinion here. He feels the fighters out early on, and then he starts to press forward and really punish his opponents. And sometimes win on the card, sometimes he gets knockouts. But we know what type of fighter Terence Crawford is. He's very skilled. He confuses his fighters. Even when he got to 147 pounds, he has shown to be more powerful than some of his opponents. So you got to give him that. He's not a particularly small dude. So, you know what I'm saying? That's credit to Terence Crawford. He's a good fighter. So let me see here. In hindsight, Spence should have postponed the fight and had surgery so that he could fight at 100%, of course. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were saying that, even with the car accident situation, that he probably should have waited. But it says, of course, that's easier said than done. When you're a fighter, you're looking at a $20 million payday to make life-changing money. It would be difficult not to go through with the fight just so that you didn't miss out on the payday. It says with that kind of money, most people would do the same as Errol did by fighting while injured and then crying all the way to the bank afterwards. So, it is what it is, man. It was a big money fight. But, I don't think Errol Spence is going to retire. I think there's a lot more money on the table. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's very tough. He's shown time and time again to be an extremely tough fighter. He got a lot of heart, and he's going to really get back. And I think Errol Spence is going to bounce back, man. Every fighter is going to lose at some point, even if it's not, to this extent. But, even guys that went, undefeated professionally, they even lost in the amateurs, man. So that's, the thing about life is everybody going to lose at some point. You know what I'm saying? You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. It all determines how you bounce back, how you get up from, how you fall. And that goes, all across the board in all walks of life, including me doing YouTube. I fell very hard trying to get back up a couple of times, but this time we're going to do it the right way. We got ourselves a new studio here that we're building up right now, and we're going to really try to get in here and get these videos popping, man. Yes, Lord. All praises to the Most High. Yep. So it says fans will now wonder what could have been if Spence had fought Crawford with a clear vision. We might have seen a similar performance from Errol as he's shown in the previous fight against Ugas, in which he dominated his older opponent. So a lot of people are basically saying, how is that gonna look? If Errol Spence Jr. has clear sight, we know, if he comes in, prepared, well trained, and not overtrained, and not altitude sickness, and none of those things. If he just comes into the ring, the right way, how much different could that fight have been? And that's what a lot of fight fans is waiting to see in a rematch. I'm pretty sure they want to do 3 fights, so I wouldn't, particularly be surprised if Errol Spence Jr. come out and win the second fight. So y'all just stay tuned. We're gonna talk about this fight leading up to it, even after they make the fight. We're gonna really cover Errol Spence Crawford on this channel. We're gonna cover all things Crawford. We're gonna cover all things Errol Spence. And we're going to get it in, man. But I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Really appreciate everybody for checking into the video. If you made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you. Much love to you. If you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm Get a Mike. This is Gym Boxing. Feel free to smash the like button and all that good stuff, man, on your way out the door. Really appreciate everybody for checking into the building. Much love to everybody. And that's the final bell. Peace out, y'all.